I really appreciate Dr. Group coming in studio with us today. There's so much happening in this world, and there are so many solutions out there when it comes to our own daily lives. Watch less television, try to eat organic, drink more purified water, spend time with our families, breathe deeply, something I've been trying to do. I still look like hell, but Dr. Group got out of his car this morning, same time I did when he drove up from South Texas. He said, man, you look a lot better. And every time he comes, he can see that. But everybody sees me on the streets, you name it. I still, you know, after 15 years of no exercise and eating like a pig and working 18 hours a day, I got wrecked. It's taken me 4 or 5 years to just try to get back to some semblance. But I can exercise less, work even harder now. And with the supplements he developed and that we've developed, I have been able to maintain and go to the next level. And just really improve my quality of life with the Super Mill Vitality, the Survival Shield X2 Nascent Iodine, the Lung Cleanse. When I can't get rid of a cold with antibiotics, I don't know why I took antibiotics this year. It didn't work. Bunch of colloidal silver, it worked. InfoWarsLife.com. Now, he's not here to infomercial today, but I am going to roll out a new product that he advised us on, but that is not a product that we're basically in business on. But he called it a bad-to-the-bone super product, to quote him earlier, giving us his assessment before we went live, calling it one of the best eye formulas he's ever seen. Because this is something I care about. You can keep, according to the medical literature, a lot of bad things happening with the proper nutrition with the eyes. That's a fact. We have a patented, very expensive ingredient in here that is known to do a lot of important things to the eye. And everybody knows what carrots do for the eye. Well, this is carrots squared, basically. And it's OcuPower. We're going to talk about it later towards the end of the hour. Open Your Eyes, dietary supplement. It's more affordable than something like DNA Force that's sold out and is the Rolls Royce of just super supplement, which we'll hopefully have in a few months. We weren't kidding about it selling out. This will probably sell out in a couple of days because it's based on some of the same research and principles of DNA Force, some of the same regenerative principles, but at a more affordable price. It's $29.95 for this, not $130 like DNA Force. By the way, DNA Force is a $600 formula with leading competitors, but ours is even stronger for $130. It's a nutraceutical. The stuff in it costs us $12,000 from Mitsubishi, developed right here in America, and is the only pure, true form. We could buy cheaper Chinese forms, and it's patented only one type. This has something that's a lot less expensive, but that is patented as well, and I'm taking it, and that's one reason. We're going to skip this network break because I don't want to take any of Dr. Group's time here. But Dr. Group, you heard me just ranting about world events. I didn't mean to get to into OcuPower that is now available at InfoWarsLife.com. Infowars.com/eyes to find the subsection of the site where it's been since last week. But I didn't want to roll it out and start, in promoting it here on the air and endorse it until I had you here to break it down with us. Infowars.com/eyes, or you just go to InfoWarsStore.com or InfoWarsLife.com and go to the supplement area to find it. But since I jumped the gun and prematurely launched here, just getting exciting about OcuPower, the supplement for the eyes that I just started taking a few months ago before it was even officially out. And I know you didn't come here today to really talk about this, but since you helped advise us on it, why do you call it a bad-to-the-bone super eye formula? Or, I mean, those were your words, but break it down for me.
Well, when you guys came to me and said, hey, we want an eye formula, I started doing the research, and I don't really need to do the research because I have people that call my office every single day that are having eye problems, macular degeneration, cataracts, glaucomas. I mean, we're in a situation now where practically every person over the age of 40 has to have reading glasses. I mean, look at all the laser surgeries that are out there. Look at all the glasses.
My eyes have just started to go. Always had incredible vision. It is so bizarre to have them start to go a little bit. And since I've been on this, I've seen a difference.
Right now, there's a major epidemic going on, especially with the over 40 individuals, males and females. And if you look at the eyes, it all boils back down to one thing, which is too many toxins like we talk about coming in. and not enough coming out. I mean, the eyes especially are exposed to more damaging UV rays right now. They're also exposed to all the chemicals and everything in the chemtrails, all the chemicals leaking out of your pillow and everything else. And what's happening is people aren't cleaning their bloodstream enough. Their arteries are becoming clogged, and the small, tiny, tiny, tiny little veins in the eyes and the arteries in the eyes are becoming clogged a little bit and not providing the amount of oxygen and the nutrients that the eyes need to continue seeing really good, like lutein and vitamin E and astaxanthin and some of the other compounds that we have in the ocular power. And so because of the fact that I've had so many requests for it, and actually my aunt has been suffering for a long time and from problems with her eyes.
Aspartame eats your eyes.
Aspartame, I mean, you know, it's a combination of all kinds of things, and especially, too, looking at computer screens all day long. I mean, I know people in their 20s and 30s right now that are having eye problems, and they're seeing bad because...
Well, I've seen the studies admitting that, especially the new screens are frying our eyes. What's happening there?
Wi-Fi, electromagnetic frequencies, being next to... Eyes are very sensitive. You know, you have your rods and your cones in there, and we talked about that before on how sensitive the rods and the cones are, because the pineal gland also has rods and cones, and when you put in fluoride and chlorine and bromine and the other halogens, which the iodine helps remove, you also get calcification in the two areas, the pineal gland and the eyes, the rods and cones of the eyes. So those also need to be detoxified. When you guys came and said, hey, we want to do an eye formula, and I was basically like, well, let me help you out. You know, right now I'm busy with all the other stuff, but let's put together a formula that I would take on a regular basis and that I would feel comfortable sending people over here to buy for their eyes. Then I started looking at the different, you know, substances and found out that there really, again, is not some company out there that has all of these ingredients in one high-tech formula.
The reason InfoWarsLife.com is so popular is that we, with your help and others, we really do go out and try to make the best formula, the strongest formulas at the best prices. It's so bizarre how many supplements, now that I'm really getting into this, where the companies are just cheap. They don't want to spend $50-something on the ingredients into a bottle. They want to spend $2 and tell you it's really expensive. I mean, they don't want to really give you all the stuff that's known that's good for the eye. It's all marketing bull. I can't believe it.
It's absolutely out of control. I mean, you know, there are some good companies out there. There are very, very few good companies out there that actually go through the quality control and the testing of the raw materials. And look, I mean, just for, let's say, DNA Force, I mean, astragalus in there, I mean, there's 100 different suppliers. You can get it from China for as low as $16 a kilogram. But yes, it's probably high in arsenic, lead, cadmium, all of the toxic chemicals, mercury, or you can get a clean U.S. source, you know, for maybe $30 a kilogram. There's a big difference when you're sourcing out raw materials for.
But still, we do it, have to pay for the expensive testing, and still sometimes we find it's not in the California standard. That's basically impossible that they did on purpose to shut down supplements.
It can cost us up to $5,000 just to test each individual batch that comes off the line before and after.
So here's what we're saying. Nobody's perfect, but we are neurotic to try to give you the absolute over-the-top best. But in this contaminated world, it's not even, I mean, it's that insane.
I've been talking to growers. I was just in California for 20 days and toured some of the organic farms and went up into the forest and talked to some people. The park services up there, they have no clue about Fukushima and what's happening. The herbalists and the medicinal people, they do, because the food shortages up there are going crazy. The drought is devastating things. I was in the redwood forest, and 100 feet from me, a tree that was, you know, as big as a car just fell over. And the guys were telling me, yes, because of the radiation coming over and because of the drought and because of everything else affecting the land out here, it's like microwave energy. It's rotting the trees from the inside out, and they're just falling over. And I was talking to an herbalist, and she said, we can't even go in the forest anymore and wildcraft a lot of these herbs because they're all dying back, and there's not anything available. So people don't understand the... Well, you're listening.
The thousands of smokestacks of the totally dirty coal plants in China, the jet stream, all rains down over the U.S.
Exactly.
I mean, well, I mean, we've shown the news reports for all over the country. Just aluminum dioxide in the soil is just killing the plants. I mean, this
causing the soil to become extremely acidic, and all this getting sucked up into the trees. I mean, the land is unhealthy, the earth is unhealthy, the waters are contaminated, the air is contaminated. That's the reason why, you know, the only solution to this, which I always like to talk about solutions, is becoming educated and knowing what you need to do and what to protect yourself and protect your family, especially like stuff with Ebola and all these new things. There's always a lot of diversions, like what you were saying. There's a fight going on politically around the world. There's a fight going on with healthcare around the world. There's a fight going on with, you know, nuclear stuff around the world. There's all these different fights going on with pandemics and all this stuff coming together, which is just
the Earth is
diversion.
The Earth is reaching its carrying capacity, and you'll hear that from the eugenicists. But there is a carrying capacity with the level of technology we've got now. Then the globalists are working to destabilize things, in their own words, to bring in the global crisis so that we will then accept all their demands. I mean, this is a perfect storm of evil, because it's easier for them to ride and direct the crises, both created ones but ones that are naturally there, to get more power than to try to fix it. Because it's hard to fix things. Instead, they've just decided to make it as bad as they can, burn down the world, and then they will inherit it because they're posing as the savior. Do you see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying, but the good news in that, it's not as hard as people think to fix things, because you can look at the human body. It takes a beating over 40 years. It might take you 30 or 40 years with patients coming in of destroying their body with bad food and bad air and everything else. But the good news is we've been able to turn that around in less than 90 days. And we know that the liver regenerates in 90 days. The skin tissue regenerates in 24 hours. So you could completely destroy the body for 30 years straight and regenerate it. And, you know, a really good regeneration could happen in your body in 90 days of you just drinking water, eliminating all those toxic artificial sweeteners, the chemicals, all the other stuff that we talk about.
That's right. I've only eliminated
it too. The earth could clean itself really fast as well. So there is a good positive solution if we just look at how we regenerate. The plants regenerate the same way. The water regenerates. We just have to eliminate all the stuff that's actually killing us and poisoning us.
Undoubtedly, the government is engaged in geoengineering. I've talked to meteorologists on air, multiple meteorologists that have, you know, TV shows on news, and they said, no, clearly there's planes off the coast, the West Coast, spraying to block weather fronts and to knock that Pacific moisture down. What's the long-term plan of the globalists to turn California into a desert? I mean, I guess they're going to run everybody out and make it collapse and then come back in and I guess turn the water back on, because even Klamath Falls and other areas where lakes are full of water, they'll just dump it in the ocean and redirect it over some sucker fish that isn't even indigenous. So the farmers go bankrupt. This has been going on for 10 years. I mean, at every level, they are systematically trying to bankrupt us.
Well, you got to remember that most of the food's grown in California, too. So, you know, when there's a food and food prices are going through the roof right now.
They're attacking our breadbasket.
They are. I mean, I've talked to restaurant suppliers. I was on the phone with one of the main guys at, well, I'm not going to say the name of the restaurant, but it's a higher-end restaurant that's all around the world. And he said they're having an extremely hard time right now with beef and pork and all the commodities because there's such an in short supply, and they're raising the price. That
steaks are now $50.
Putting them out of business completely.
Really?
Yes. Yes. I mean, look at it. What? You need how many gallons per day for a cow to, you know, a cow needs to drink something like 30 gallons of water a day or something like that. They don't have any, you know, the droughts, the chemicals. What are the cows eating right now? The grass, which is contaminated with aluminum oxides and everything. They're being shot up with hormones so they can get ready to butcher in 1 year instead of 3. You know, the pigs are contaminated because they're being fed a bunch of GMO food as well as the cows. I mean, sooner or later, it's going to come to a breaking point, and then you're going to have that all roll over into the restaurants and into the human situation. So, yeah, I mean, we all know that the food supply, and that's one of the mechanisms of many that is done by design to make you more dependent, fear and make you more dependent and make you more sick.
And then who does the government demonize? Anybody that tries to get off the grid and be self-sufficient, that's who they watch. So so what's the plan? Why do they want us totally dependent as they turn the resources off?
Agenda has to do with Agenda 21. I mean, you know, they want districts. They want agricultural districts. They want capital districts. They want all the districts, and they want control. And they want to control the population.
Which is also in rollerball.
Yeah, they want you dependent upon them for everything.
Yeah, I mean, that's all in Club of Rome. When you see rollerball or you see or
Hunger Games
or read Hunger Games, that's art imitating life. See, folks, we're not here saying it's you know, we're not copying Hunger Games. Well, this is the Hunger Games. I want to get into Ebola epidemic and how to protect yourself from an outbreak, solutions to stopping the Ebola outbreak, insane supplement laws and new regulations in foods, Prop 65. As they poison the environment, they then make everything illegal to eat at literally impossible levels where there's more lead in the air than is in supplements or a potato. We're going to talk about immune system power versus vaccines and how to boost your natural immunity. Other threats such as ticks that make you allergic to meat. We're going to talk about it all. Briefly, we come out with new products. A lot of times they're so popular they sell out right away. We sold out of the DNA Force in less than 4 hours. That had been available. This new OcuPower, ladies and gentlemen, we have a limited supply, a little bit more than we had of the DNA Force because it's less expensive. We could afford to buy more of it. But at the rate it's selling, it'll be sold out within about 2 to 3 days. And I want to get your reviews of OcuPower. I want you to tell me, you know, obviously how it worked for you. But it is just filled with the organic, highest quality, basic things like vitamin A, zinc, eyebright herb extract, bilberry fruit extract, and then I can't even pronounce all these others. How do you pronounce that?
Zeaxanthin. It also has
that's the one that's
xanthan.
And it's got the
bilberry in there.
Got black currant fruit extract, and then this patented one, that's the saffron bulb extract.
Saffariel is what they call it.
Yep.
The concentration of the saffron bulb. I mean, all in all, you're looking at the best things to support eye health. I mean, look, the way the world's going right now, you know, and if there's going to be a revolution or whatever, I mean, think of all the people that are firing guns. They're definitely going to need to have good eyesight, that's for sure. So
when it comes down to it, our body is built to this stuff. It's not in the over-farmed foods out there. That's admitted. And we're trying to bring people the super supplements that also fund this operation so we can have the reporters cover Ferguson and change the course of the entire events and expose what's really going on there. InfoWars is the tip of the spear. So it's a win-win. You get high-quality products at extremely affordable prices, and you support hardcore First Amendment, pro-liberty media when you buy OcuPower, Survival Shield, X2, Super Male Vitality, Super Female Vitality, and all the other great products. Dr. Group, you've also developed something that I call the secret sauce that I can't wait till we're ready to roll it out. Don't tell people what it is yet. That I can be exhausted at 10 o'clock at night about to do a radio interview. And in the old days, I'd just go drink half a bottle of red wine. That would kind of wake me up because alcohol has a stimulant effect. Now I don't do that. I take 3 squirts of, it's not even a stimulant. I'm not going to tell people what it is yet. But you guys have been able to change the molecular structure of something that's very well known. And I've taken it before, other brands, and it's had some effect. Undoubtedly, this should be sold as the ultimate energy drink. But we're not going to have it as an energy drink. But people are going to want to get this and put it in energy drinks.
It's actually something that's very, very, very good for you. And you might pay up to $200 for an injection of this at different places around the world.
Don't give it away.
Nobody's put these 2 ingredients together that's actually what you need. It's like having 3 cups of coffee, but it doesn't give you the jitters. How many people do you know that are just run down and not having enough energy and not being able to sleep properly? And believe it or not, what this is, I would say probably a good 50 to 75% of the people, probably even more than that. I'd probably say 90% of the people on the planet are deficient in these nutrients that we're putting in this formula. It's just like iodine. You know, you can study 100 people and 99 of them are going to be deficient in iodine.
Well, that's what the scientists, as you know, discovered about areas in Japan in the mountains and areas in Italy and places where you would just have tons of people living to 105, 110, and even the unhealthy guys that smoke cigarettes living to 90. And it was because they had volcanic soil that was the right kind of volcanic soil to give them all the essential trace elements and minerals that they needed. Then the plants were growing in that as well. So it was then in a bioavailable form for the body. But most people don't live in those areas, or they're not getting fruits and vegetables from those areas. That's a basic. And then you get into the superfoods and the super nutrients, the things that are in DNA Force and in the OcuPower. It's just not out there. I mean, you were talking about in the DNA Force that you developed for us, that particular extract you were saying was the equivalent of how many blueberries?
About 500 cases of blueberries would be the equivalent of the Pitero Pure, and it's an extract from the blueberries.
Is that per bottle or per pill?
I think it's per serving. Per serving.
So 2 pills.
Yep, 2 pills.
Or capsules.
That's pretty powerful. I mean, it's, you know, anytime I do anything, I always make sure it's the best out there, because I personally don't want there to be a product out there anywhere on the market that's better. And whenever,
well, that's right. Our whole future, knowing how we're under scrutiny especially, is about being absolutely neurotic. But still, this world's so crazy, you know, they can take anything and try to make it something down the road. We expect that. We expect to be attacked. But we are literally working around the clock to bring you the best.
Right. I mean, all of the products that I develop, if you look at the reviews, which have 400, 500, 600 reviews for you online, they're all 5-star, 4.5 star. I mean, you know, that is unheard of in the nutraceutical industry.
That's why we've got some of the biggest names calling us, wanting to basically merge with us or buy us.
Right. I mean, it's so hard to do something that's going to be so effective on a broad range of people, from 15-year-olds up to 100-year-olds. I mean, you know, considering the fact that every single person has different psychological profiles, every single person has different exercise patterns, every person has different dietary habits, they all have a different environment in which they live. I mean, we're all different. Some of us get an hour of sun every day. Some of us get no sun every day. Some of us eat healthy. Some of us don't eat healthy. So it's hard to be able to develop something, because based on the amount of absorption that you're going to have, considering your current state of health, how clean is your body? You could take a nutritional supplement, but your body is so out of whack because you're eating GMO food.
Well, everybody knows I still work sometimes all night and still eat some bad stuff, but I've cut back a lot. Literally, when I started getting on your supplements, and I was already taking some really great ones, the longevity products, InfoWars, health.com, they're awesome as well. But yours is, I guess you go look at what the key things are that people haven't really recognized that are hiding in plain view. I mean, take the iodine. That's so simple. I mean, I was really getting into iodine previously because Ben Fuchs and others had told me to get into it. It was helping me, but it would give me stomach aches. It wasn't, most of the stuff out there isn't real nascent iodine. And, you know, it turns black or red on paper. Ours is red, but it turns electric blue. Well, because it's from the real electric blue crystals.
There's nothing, you know, we always look for purity, too. I mean, you know.
Yeah, but no one else has the X2 electric blue crystals. I mean, why was it you that went out and got a deep earth source, not a sea source? So that's what I mean. Everyone's so damn lazy. Excuse me, Lord, for taking that. I didn't mean that in vain. It's just people are so lazy. I want to innovate. I want to bring people the most incredible stuff.
I'm the same way. I mean, if there's a million...
Well, no, that's why we work with you, but you found the crystal source. Why had no one else done that?
Because the first thing that people do, formulators, first of all, formulators most of the time are just individuals that have a little bit of a nutraceutical experience, and this is what they do. Let's say the president of the company says, we need an eye formula. We have a registered dietitian, or we have somebody that was trained in the standard modern system of medicine, which you can't have that because they're going to look at synthetic vitamins and everything they learn in biochemistry and nutrition courses. And what they're going to do, and this is broad spectrum across the board. I've talked to many nutritional formulators that supposedly out there are the best. They look on, they say, the president says, we want an eye formula. So what that person does is looks online and looks at all the different eye formulas out there, makes a whole ingredient list of what everybody else is using. and then takes 4 or 5 of those ingredients and mixes them up so their formula is not exactly the same as the other one, and then looks at sourcing those raw materials. Once they start sourcing those raw materials, they're going to look at the cheapest one that they can find, because it's all about cost. I was the first one in the nutraceutical industry to throw cost out the window, and that's whenever I contact some of these suppliers, they're like, "Are you crazy? What are you doing? No one's ever done that." You know, for DNA Force, people call and say, "Well, I can get one of these ingredients online for 20, but I can't find any other supplement that has more than 2 of these ingredients together in the same formula." Well, yeah, that's why it's so expensive, because you put 7 or 8 of the world's leading researched ingredients into a formula. Of course it's going to be expensive.
Yeah, because it's patented. I mean, we're buying this stuff from companies that sell to pharmaceutical giants.
Like you said, the cost of DNA Force, if you were any other person, any other nutraceutical, that retail on the market would be going for around $399 a bottle. If you were to do the market,
you were saying some formulas though are 600.
Some formulas are 600 a bottle. Yes. But what I'm saying is, you're still, you know, because the whole mission that I have is the same mission that you have, to help the earth, to give people the solutions they need to take care of their own health, to keep their immune system strong, to prevent all these things from damaging their body, to keep their mind sharp, to keep their eyes sharp, to keep their body decreased, to keep their self-healing mechanism working.
And notice, why do we have to buy this from you know, a major Japanese company based in America that everybody knows the name of, just one of the ingredients? It's because the Japanese elite, you can read it in their newspapers, are obsessed with this, gobbling it, because they want to live. I mean, you know, but they're gobbling the individual ingredient, not putting it all together, like we're doing.
Right.
Because that's where a lot of the research comes from, is Japan.
It's like what happens with the pharmaceutical companies. They find a plant, they take one ingredient out, an active ingredient, and they synthesize it. And it ends up destroying the body and covering up the, never working on the root cause of the problem, and it makes you even worse. There's a synergistic relationship with herbs and with compounds. Each individual herb might have 20 different compounds in there. Why do you think those 20 compounds are there? Because they have to work together in unison. If you take 10 of them out, then you might be, in most cases, reducing the ability of that herb to work. Now, with DNA Force and some of the stuff that we do, we use the full spectrum herbs, or we use individual ingredients combined with other individual ingredients that are going to enhance the effect of those other ingredients. So these all work together. We're not going to put something in there that's going to block the action of this or alter the action of this.
Absolutely. So AccuForce is a Rolls-Royce quality product at an extremely affordable price, $29.95. It will sell out in the next few days, and I appreciate all of your support out there, InfoWarsLife.com. Then we'll do our best in phase 2 to get enough of the products with the profit that comes in to be able to really stock up on it and to be able to not have shortages of it like we had in the first few rounds with X2 and the other products. It's something we've been through here as we try to capitalize InfoWars to the next level, to get the reporters, to get the writers, to do everything we need to do. We are doing this free market style, not with taxpayer money. This is literally, this whole operation is one seed planted 19 years ago by yours truly. You've worked with us. We've now built up to this major launch level against the globalist. And, you know, we expect all sorts of attacks, and we've been dealing with those as well. But that's part of this war. And we're learning as we go. But I just want to thank all of you for your support. InfoWarsLife.com, AccuPower, a dietary supplement for the eyes, available at InfoWarsLife.com. Now, let's hurry here, Dr. Group, and get through these points here. And go over these issues we haven't gotten to. Ebola, they're now declaring martial law in multiple countries. Let me find my Ebola stack. They've got riot police on the streets in areas of Africa trying to contain it. This is definitely the biggest Ebola outbreak ever, but I've seen the reports that just having proper hydration and things in U.S. hospitals cuts it from a 90+% death rate down to 50. What are some of the things, not just for Ebola, but flesh-eating bacteria, MRSA, all these threats emerging out of modern medical medicine that's helping mutate these viruses and bacteria in many cases? What are some of the basic things on Ebola epidemic?
most of these organisms, as you know, are bioweapons that are created. And from the sources that I've talked to, because my phones have been ringing off the hook too, what do we do about this? So many people in the U.S., because of the fear-mongering thing, are worried about it transferring.
Lyme's disease did come from Plum Island.
Absolutely.
From a bioweapons lab on record.
SARS, H1N1.
It's tick-borne syphilis.
Actually, the influenza virus kills more people a year than, and is more contagious than the Ebola. But from what we know about this Ebola strain, it did come from a U.S. bioweapons, well, it's not confirmed, but this is just what I'm hearing. It did come from a U.S. bioweapons lab in Kanema. And what it's altered itself, so it's not so rapid. You know, the old Ebola that you got, you would die very rapidly. So now the viruses have a way of kind of changing themselves, giving up a little bit of this and taking a little bit of that. This one seems to have a longer incubation period. So that, in order for that to happen, that means it's going to spread more readily and more readily. And you've mentioned the study with the pigs and the monkeys with
it's airborne.
Ebola going airborne and air droplets in the mainstream media saying, well, you know, it's not airborne. You need.
The point is, it's making that journey now. It's becoming airborne.
Yes, and I actually know of a study going on right now in Africa where they're giving colloidal silver in 2 to 3 mils every single hour, and it's in a location, and they're actually having pretty good success with it. And I will be coming out with a program here fairly soon, which I'll share with you. You can post on your website. But the gist of it is these are the things that are going to work the best to protect and to strengthen your immune system and that are very strong antivirals. Colloidal silver in about a 10 part per million solution. Chaparral works really good as an antiviral. Oregano oil works really good as an antiviral. And a product called MMS works really good as an antiviral. The MMS is a miracle mineral supplement, and it's basically you take a chlorine. It's not chlorine that actually harms you, but it's converted to chlorine dioxide in your body, and it's a very strong, fast antiviral. Now, of course, you know, the Gates Foundation and everything else, which is a whole nother story, is planning on coming out with a vaccine in 2015. Just like we talked about a month ago when Ebola was just happening, and you were saying, well, what's the story behind Ebola? And I said, well, we're probably going to see a vaccine coming out here sometime shortly. So, you know, the big question is, what is in the vaccine, and what is the long-term effects of this Ebola, and whoever receives the vaccines, what are they putting in the vaccine?
And by the way, guess who else is involved with Bill and Melinda Gates? Monsanto.
Monsanto
is behind. We just put that article on screen. Ebola outbreak, can it be controlled? Monsanto invests in Ebola treatment drug company as pandemic spreads. And of course, the foot and mouth that was weaponized in England in 2001, we said it was government weaponized. It turned out it was weaponized government. You know, Dr. Group, I love how they allow the FDA melamine to a certain level, a pretty high level, and had headlines in the Associated Press a few years ago with the Chinese melamine scare of, don't worry, some melamine isn't bad for you. And they would allow bisphenol A, and they would allow hundreds of chemicals from the factories that they call fluoride. It's not just fluoride. That's what always gets medical doctors and people that were for it to go, oh, wait, now I'm against it. For those that don't know, it's all over the news in Canada, Europe, you name it, where they're taking the fluoride out in England in most cities because they're going, what's the supply? I know we need calcium fluoride, but this is hydrofluorosilicic, and then it's hundreds of other things. It's just toxic waste that we pay to drink. So they do that, but then, oh my gosh, we've got this Prop 65 in California. Explain that to people, because then it makes it literally impossible for people to basically get almost every supplement there is. Explain the numbers to folks.
Prop 65 in California was a team of attorneys that basically got together and wanted to pass a law restricting the amount of lead in anything, really, from glassware to lawnmowers to whatever you were going to purchase. The problem is they kind of misled the individuals during voting, and they basically said, you know, vote for Prop 65 to protect yourself from excess levels of lead or anything like that. They set the limits at 0.5 micrograms per gram of lead. which means that after Prop 65 got signed in by the government of California, then every single company that produced anything got sued by these ravenous attorneys everywhere that just wanted to take advantage of it and get as much money as they possibly could out of this. All the nutraceutical companies, all the food, suppliers got sued, all the glassware, because, crystal in glass has high levels of lead. They all got sued. Ammunition got sued, companies. I mean, you name it, and practically every commodity and everything in California has been sued since. And so basically, let me take that a step back. They had to put a warning. Basically, they had to test all their products, and if your product contained over 0.5 micrograms of lead, then you could use one specific warning, which basically said that this product is known to cause birth defects and reproductive harm. If the product was over 1% lead, you had to say this product is known to cause cancer.
But here's the issue, though. There's more of it in the air or in an apple than in the cleanest supplements out there. So they knew they were setting a standard to be able to shut everything down selectively.
It was all about money. It was all about the attorneys making tons of money off it, and they have made tons of money off it.
And now Whole Foods
Whole Foods has been in a lawsuit with them because dietary supplements fall under DSHA. They fall under a food, okay? Prop 65 is not, shouldn't be pertained to food, and so Whole Foods is in a lawsuit with them.
But let's explain. That means if something has less than 1 part per million, they're saying it's bad. The California standards, correct me if I'm wrong, are 10 times the federal.
Well, the federal standards, the FDA and the USDA, all the federal standards, when they test for metals or any type of toxins, require less than 10 parts per million or 10 micrograms per gram or something like that. California is 0.5, not even 1 microgram, the Prop 65.
So it's more than 10 times.
More than 10 times. So anything that you get anywhere in the United States that's under 10 parts per million of any type of lead or arsenic or anything like that is generally considered safe. I mean,
but from the science I've read in mainline studies, if you didn't have any arsenic or any lead, you'd die. I mean, isn't it true that even though it's poisonous in moderate levels or even small levels, in the super tiny trace level, is that wrong science in your view? Because arsenic is in apples.
Well, all of those are naturally occurring. I mean, they're naturally occurring in soils and plants and everything else. It just depends on what plant and what.
So you were saying in the air is way above.
In the air, you have high mercury content in the air. You have high aluminum content in the air. And in some parts of California, they've stated that it's 55. You breathe in a main city, you may breathe up to 55 micrograms of lead per day, 55. And Prop 65 is 0.5, not even 1 microgram. It's ridiculous, and the people in California are upset about it.
Yeah, because if this was put on food, which they could do, which they'd use to starve us, you were saying how many green peas has a...
Well, like 1 green bean would be over Prop 65. A lot of foods, I mean, even organic apples are high in lead and some of the...
But is there any truth from your research that we do need a little bit of the bad things?
You do need a little bit. Everything in moderation. You know, there's always a point where it becomes too much, and it depends on what source it is, too. I mean, there's a lot of different aluminum byproducts, aluminum oxides, just like fluoride. I mean, it depends on, is it naturally occurring in nature, the chemical structure of it, and...
Yeah, how much calcium fluoride do we need?
0. So
you think we don't even...
Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit. But definitely...
So fluoride, period, is bad.
In minute amounts in parts per million, if it's soil based or if it's from any type of zeolite or deposit or naturally occurring taken up by plants. Because here's the thing, you have minerals in the soil, but there's something that happens with those. It can change the electron spin from a positive to a negative electron spin. Usually if it's a positive, it's synthetic, but if it's a negative charge, it all depends on the electrical charge of the element as it comes in your body.
And that's what makes hydrofluorosilicic so deadly, is they've made it super positive, right?
Yes, yes.
And that's why it's so dangerous bouncing around.
That's why it's so dangerous. But when it's also, you have to look at just one compound. What happens when you combine that compound with another compound?
Well, that's why if you stuck your hand in it, it would eat the flesh right off your hand.
It eats through glass. It eats through metal.
I mean, it's
everything. It's like it comes with a skull and crossbones on the label. I mean, it's like what you said. We are actually buying the world's most toxic waste products from China, and they're sitting over there laughing, sending all this toxic material.
Yeah, that's even been on the news from China, and they tested like 300 poisons.
And it's got it's got high levels of arsenic, lead, mercury, all.
And they make these cities put in these multi-billion-dollar water treatment deals to have no arsenic in them, and then this perfect water comes out, and they dump Chinese toxic waste in it, and I mean, it's cuckoo.
System.
I've got a newscast. I think it was out of Oklahoma like 6-7 years ago. We played it a bunch, where they actually, like the news director did a tour of the water plant and saw the skull and crossbones that said China. So he got it, and they took it and had it tested, and that was over 300. And I've got to find that old newscast. It was on YouTube. It's like, but that's what real news should do. And it was like, whoa, you mean it's hundreds of chemicals, and we're paying to dump it in the water?
It's like when they tested the tobacco in one of the mainstream cigarettes, and they found 600 and something different chemicals in it.
The governor of Missouri has come out and said just minutes ago that he's ordering the National Guard off the streets of Ferguson. Governor Nixon orders National Guard to withdraw from Ferguson. Jay Nixon ordered the National Guard to begin withdrawal from the city of Ferguson on Thursday, citing continued improvement in security there. The situation has greatly improved with fewer incidents of outside instigators interfering with peaceful protesters and fewer acts of violence, Nixon said in a statement. The governor called the Guard on Monday and charged them with protecting the command center where officials were considering the response to protesters that erupted after police shooting of an unarmed teen. Nixon said the Guard will work with the State Highway Patrol in carrying out a systematic process of withdrawing. Yeah, because as bad as some of the cops are, and I'm not knocking the National Guard, if they were veterans, I mean, Biggs saw him, he said, I've never seen people this young. I mean, they look like younger than privates I've seen. I don't know where they got these people, but their commanding officer looked like he was about 14. And I'm not being mean. I mean, it was like kids with guns milling around, like not knowing what they were doing. Very bizarre. Just a total mess. Only a matter of time. If somebody hit me with a rock and I had a gun, I'd want to shoot them. And I'm 40 years old, know how to control myself a little bit better. That's why I won't even go to Ferguson, because I've got anger issues. I just can't imagine. It's a total mess. We had that cop threatening to shoot our reporters and others saying, I'll effing kill you, just for no reason. And that's now national news. And then people are calling us anti-cop. We're not doing anything to the police. We're not antagonizing them. We're being respectful. We first got there when it was just thugs burning things the day after it happened, and we're supportive of the police. Why do you think the police, what have they been told to be so hateful towards reporters? I've never seen anything like this, Dr. Group.
I think it's condition number one. I mean, starting from a young age with, the police officers. I mean, not all police officers are bad, obviously, but the ones that they're getting now, I think they're molding into what they want to fight against citizens in case when there's going to be militia on the streets, which there already is in some cases, and when they're going to be rallying everybody up in case of Ebola or whatever, martial law or whatever.
That's it. They want to control the info, and they've been told the press is the enemy. And that ought to freak everybody out.
So I don't know what vaccines police officers get, but I've talked to military recently, and I know they've upped their vaccine schedules and stuff like that. And I know that you look at the mind. I mean, it's all about the mind. When you have the anger and the rage, what does all that boil down to? It's usually people that have poor diets. They're drinking the tap water. They've been conditioned to believe a certain way against.
They're operating on rage and stress.
Exactly.
Like I do.
You can't focus that way, and you're going to have anger issues, and you're going to be in that kill state, kill, and, that's pretty much what's going on. They'll get you.
I couldn't imagine
the military.
I couldn't imagine pulling people over all day in 110-degree heat and dealing with people all day. I could never be a cop. I mean, I would just.
The thing is, they want people like you. They want the police officers that are going to fire on the American citizens.
Well, I would blow up big.
And they're getting rid of the ones that won't.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm good in a crisis dealing with things, But it's the long-term stuff, like stuff that just like keeps happening. That becomes really irritating.
There is no more the commercials, that you saw 30 years ago with the police officer walking the lady across the street and helping you carry your groceries to the car and everything. Now the commercials for, to become a police officer, they're showing SWAT teams in the streets, firing tear gas down the road. I mean, remember those when we were growing up? You had the
officer friendly, come to your local officer. And now if you look on TV for anybody who's running an ad or anything like that for the police department, it's completely opposite. It's all anti-civilian, anti-support for the population. And, we've completely flipped over. But it's all part of dumbing people down, and throwing it in their face through movies and through media and through all the other million things that are out there that are conditioning people to say, oh, okay, it's going to be okay. This is what I'm going to have to expect. Just like Outbreak and all the Ebola stuff movies that came out 10 years ago. Now everybody knows Ebola could kill you, the fear-mongering, everything else. I mean, Hunger Games, all the stuff that they've put in, to our brain, deep in our brain, and they fried our brain with all the chemicals and everything else. They don't want people. They want people that are dumbed down. They don't want people, they're easily controllable and to control the population. Let's go to some phone calls here. Any other points you want to make before we go to calls that we haven't gotten to?
I just want people to know that they can do something about it. I mean, just listen to the show, and really the best way to protect yourself and your family is to keep your body clean and to make sure that you have a good survival plan. You need to get out of the city. If there's Ebola that comes into your city, you need to have a bug out plan. You need to have some stuff packed. You need to have some storable food. You need to have enough supplements for your friends and your family or wherever you're going to go. Really, look, Alex is telling you this stuff every day, reporting on it. You need to have some sort of a plan because you're the one that knows. You know the answers, and you know how to defend yourself and your family, where everybody else is just going to sit there and they're not going to know what to do, and they're going to rely on the government exactly what they want to happen.
Well, exactly. Government is digging in. Government's getting ready for martial law worldwide. Government is destabilizing, funding radical groups, while telling low-level government we're setting up a police state to stabilize things. They create the crisis, offer the solution, Hegelian dialectic. All I know is government's massing food and weapons. Elites are hardening their homes. Elites are moving to rural areas. That's all over the news. Every major economist we have on says, I've moved to because everyone can see the writing on the wall. Open borders, deindustrialization, food prices exploding. This is just the beginning. And I literally now am just not even shaken. I am bracing internally, Dr. Group, to know that we've already are hitting the beginnings of it. And we can see the response as they prepare for total martial law and use Ferguson as a beta test, that we need the liberty movement and the patriots out there to A, be prepared, B, be out educating people now so that as things get worse, as Ron Paul has said, folks know this was engineered and blame the collectivist and not the free market and capitalism. This is the socialist takeover plan, the communist takeover plan, directed by the ultra-rich that are exempt with UN diplomatic immunity. This is their consolidation. This is it. And they're going to let Al-Qaeda attack us, guaranteed. That's in the news now. U.S. braces for Al-Qaeda attack while the border's open. And people say, oh, you're saying the government did the Al-Qaeda attack. No, I'm saying the criminals that run our government are allowing them to get ready to attack us because then they'll take our rights. It's so easy to understand how they're operating. And they admit they're doing this. This is not my opinion. James in Colorado, thanks for holding. Then we'll go to Adam, Red, Jay, and Kelly. Go ahead, James. You're on the air with Dr. Group.
Yeah, I had a question about the X2 Nation iodine. My thing is it okay to give the kids, or should it be diluted? Just your professional opinion.
That's a really good question.
That is a good question. I give it to my kids. I mean, the fact is children are really, really, really deficient because most of the pregnant mothers were severely deficient in iodine. So I would definitely dilute it in a little bit of water or orange juice, whatever. It doesn't really matter. Iodine's pretty stable the way it is. So just to take maybe an ounce of water and put, depending on how old the child is, I would probably, I mean, if it were me, I would give my child, you know, from an early age. I mean, it's definitely not going to hurt. I'd even mix it in with the milk, you know, that I'm, you know, feeding the child or whatever. But it is completely safe to use.
What is the dosage level?
Well, that just depends on how old the child is. How old is the child?
And he should consult a physician. But, I mean, look, 5 years ago, every medical doctor said, don't give a pregnant woman vaccines. They knew it caused all sorts of problems in utero. It caused miscarriages. That was on the insert. Then they said, no, we're going to double down. It's good. Take more when you're pregnant. They don't tell them that there's literally hundreds of studies over 100 years, literally going back over 100 years, but dozens just the last few years, in China, the U.S., you name it, about all of the birth defects and problems from lack of iodine. They know this, but their medical doctor will not tell you. People say, yeah, you said consult a physician. I went to them and they said, well, yeah, I guess you need some iodine, but, you know, maybe get a vitamin that has a little bit of it in it or something, or blah, 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 or, you know, I mean, they just know nothing about nutrition.
It's a lack of iodine that can be linked to a lot of the mental disabilities that children are seeing in school, that you're seeing in schools. I mean, low IQs, the dumbing down, because iodine protects against fluoride and chlorine and bromine accumulation in the brain and in the thyroid gland. And the thyroid gets messed up, your metabolism gets mixed up. I mean, it can be linked to practically every single disease out there, from obesity to anything else. But
China had so many birth defects. I mean, this has been in the mainstream news, that they make people supplement with iodine. I mean, it's just, they knew why they had so many towns where the kids were being born with all different sorts of disorders and things. I mean, they know, but our government doesn't want us to have it. Why is that?
It's counterintuitive to what they're trying to do. I mean, if you're trying to make a population sick and you're trying to increase the funds of the pharmaceutical companies and the oil and gas industry and everything else is all connected, you want to take away the health-giving things. I mean, I've said a bunch of times, I'm not the type of person that promotes a lot of different supplements, because I believe that, you know, if you keep your body clean on the inside, that's really all you need. But I do recommend everybody take iodine. I do recommend people take, you know, things to clean their body like Fluoride Shield and some of the things that actually support cellular function like DNA Force and stuff like that, because that's where it all happens. It happens at a cellular level. So iodine would be great for kids.
Adam in Canada, you want to talk about DNA Force with Dr. Group? Go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Alex. Nice to speak with you again. Good day, Dr. Group.
Thank you, brother.
I do have one question for Dr. Group and then a comment for Alex and listeners. I take the Longevity Healthy Start Pack plus a Survival Shield every day. Are there any counterindications for taking other nutraceuticals like DNA Force or Super Male Vitality?
That's a good question. No, I always recommend that you give yourself a little bit of time between each nutraceutical that you take. I mean, I don't like to take a lot of nutraceuticals or all the nutraceuticals at once. And clinically, I've found that you get a way better benefit if you spread them out at least by 2 hours. So take one, then you can take another supplement 2 hours later. I know it's kind of hard to do it that way, but if you want the best results, you should split up and at least give an hour to 2 hours.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing stuff like not eating ice cream a couple times a week at 10 o'clock at night watching a movie. You know, on the couch. I'll just go have a big glass of water and some iodine. Or I'll go over and have some herbal tea or something. It's not like, you know, I'm some super health nut now, but I've lost a lot of weight. I'm a lot healthier than I was. It's a slow process to do it right and keep it off, though. But you deal with stuff like, you know, Beyond Tangy Tangerine. That's just a bunch of minerals and organic vitamins together. Full spectrum, absorbable, InfoWarsHealth.com. That's great. And I take it at least once a day, you know, as a snack or something, again, instead of eating candy or something. That's how I've made myself start taking supplements. Because my whole life, I didn't do it. Because I was never in the habit, or I would start and get off. Now I've gotten good about staying on it, at least partially, and I'm getting better about it. And the more I take, because I'm not even taking that much right now, but it's a lot compared to a couple of years ago, the better the benefits.
Yeah, it's just getting your body used to doing things. And at the same time, what you should be doing when you're taking supplements is looking at your environment, cleaning up your house, not buying any more chemicals, but replacing them with natural and organic solutions instead, and avoiding all the things that are actually causing or can cause any type of disease or malfunction in your body, especially the endocrine disruptors, getting cell phone protectors. I mean, the list goes on. But taking supplements is one thing because you need to clean the inside of your body, but you also need to clean your outside environment, and that means your food, what you're drinking, and wherever you're living, that environment needs to be clean as well.
All right, thank you. Let's move on to the next caller here. Red in Texas wants to talk about DNA Force as well. Too bad that's sold out. People, go ahead, Red.
Hey, look, brother, you hear me?
I can hear you okay. Sounds garbled, but go ahead.
I want to get on favor.
Yeah, we got to move on. We just lost you there. Maybe see what happened. Let's go ahead and talk to Kelly in Texas. Go ahead. One has a question for Dr. Group.
Yes, I want to thank you so much for everything you do, Alex. I feel for you. I mean, I'm in the same boat you are. I have anger issues, stress, and everything else about this evil government we live under. But with regards to that, Dr. Group, what I heard you a couple of weeks ago talk about something you could take for stress and depression. What kind of alternatives is there out there other than what they give you at the doctor?
I mean, I've seen double-blind study stuff years ago about St. John's warts being a lot better than Prozac, right?
Actually, InfoWars Live is going to be coming out with a product that we're going to be talking about more today, specifically addressing depression, stress, anxiety, because it's such a huge deal. It's the thing that knocks your immune system down by 50% instantaneously. Some of the things that are going to be in there, like lithium orotate, which I love, and that's not lithium. This is a safe form. It's called lithium orotate. There's plenty of research online. Dr. Nieper in Germany has done research on it since the 1940s. That's one of the best things that I've used forever that has been able to conquer any type of mental illness. Tibetan rhodiola is another thing. There's a lot of different...
You're talking about plant-based lithium.
Plant-based lithium. It's actually a plant-based lithium bonded to an erotic acid, and it is incredible to use for a multitude of things. As a matter of fact, people are using it right now for military, for post-traumatic stress disorder, and reducing the suicide rate.
Well, I mean, I know a bunch of prestigious child psychologists, and more, they're rebelling and not trying to push drugs on kids. They're going to the plant-based lithium, and just seeing incredible response. Because it's not turning the kids into zombies at all. Because it's such a small dose and it's organic, it just literally, it just cuts it all out.
Yeah, right now, I mean, we're seeing so many suicides with people getting put on antidepressants, antipsychotics, and everything like that. So we're going to come out with a product that's going to, reduce suicides, help regulate brain function, keep you in a state to where you're calm, your anger is depressed down, and your anxiety too. And then you'll be able to also, if you reduce all those, you'll be able to sleep better at night.
There are a lot of great products at InfoWarsLife.com. It's how we also fund a lot of our operations. You can simply go to InfoWars.com/eyes. InfoWars.com/eyes. And you can find the subpage at InfoWarsLife.com that has the new OcuPower, not just for the eyes, but for a lot of the cells in the body. And I'd almost say it's like a poor man's DNA Force. That's what we were trying to do here. It's more than just eyes, but we're calling it OcuPower. And Dr. Group helped us develop it. And it's the highest quality at the lowest price. And it is going to sell out because people have learned that we have trouble keeping this stuff in because of the funds just to produce it and to source it and to get stuff so clean, so pure, and such high quality. And to not just do what most of our competitors do, putting out crud, which is shocking. I mean, now that I'm inside this for a few years, really studying it. So OcuPower, available at InfoWarsLife.com or 888-253-3139. Now, Richard Gage is going to be with us for a little bit of overdrive into the next hour as well with AE911truth.org. We're going to salute him here in just a moment and get the latest. He was on C-SPAN a few weeks ago, had a big effect. Now that we see that criminal elements of our government are openly funding al-Qaeda, new name IS or ISIS, running around doing all their horrible things, we see how these radical groups are being protected. When we say it is an inside job, criminal groups in the government were clearly working with Saudi Arabia and jihadis to hit us on 9/11. They are getting ready to hit us again and take our rights away in the name of protecting us. The average military person, the average cop has nothing to do with it. But when they do another 9/11 and you got cops saying, get back, they're going to bring down Building 7, the cops were told, get back, we're going to blow it up. I've talked to the cops that are there on CNN. I had one of them on air. He got so many threats, he disappeared after that. We interviewed the deputy head of emergency management. He died 2 weeks later. So, I mean, listen, people say it would come out. No. It came out. They had charges in all 3 buildings. And that's how compartmentalization works. Once the official story is out, no one would dare want to challenge it. So the narrative, the Santa Claus is real syndrome, don't tell the kids he hidden. Now, 13 years later, can't you see? And I want to get Mr. Gage back up close to 9/11 for a full hour and have Building 7 clips and the other towers blowing up, maybe even get him here in studio to really go over all of this. Because, of course, I was there before 9/11 and on the day saying it was an inside job. And I said they're going to launch a bio attack now on 9/11 on record. Then they launched the anthrax attack. I just know how they operate. And now they're in the news. Get ready, Al-Qaeda's going to hit us any minute. Oh, my gosh. Well, who gave Al-Qaeda the weapons? Who let them reform? And then I don't want Fox News with Bill O'Reilly saying I said 9/11 never happened or that space beams did it and all their disinfo or that radical Muslims don't exist. That's not what I'm saying. They are protecting them and our borders wide open, and I'm not going to have my rights taken when a bunch of crazy jihadis come in here and blow stuff up in downtown Austin or Dallas or San Antonio or Houston. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to start ranting. I got to finish up with 2 medical questions or supplement questions for Dr. Group here. Then we're going to Richard Gage of AE911truth.org. But let's go ahead and go to Jay in Canada. You have a question for Dr. Group. Go ahead. Okay, that was a good question. Thank you. Brian in Indiana, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Alex, how you doing, buddy?
I'm all right. Go ahead, sir. Question for Dr. Group.
Yeah, I got 2 questions for Dr. Group. First question is you recommend, or you at least didn't recommend it, but you said orange juice would be okay for your iodine, and I kind of wonder about that because the first pass effect would block some of it or let too much of it through, and that might cause liver damage. You sure about that?
Well, I always recommend water. I mean, if for a kid, if that's the only thing that they can take, then definitely it would have to be freshly squeezed orange juice, and it would be organic, because anything that you're going to get from the store is going to be contaminated with all kind of chemicals and might actually have fluoride in it anyways.
But what is he talking about? Iodine with orange juice might hurt the liver. Doesn't the iodine go right into your blood anyways?
Well, this form of iodine would. I think the main concern would be the type of orange juice that you're using, because it might be contaminated with BPA residue and other stuff. If it's in a carton and it's probably from a concentrate and it has all kinds of chemical preservatives.
But again, there's this whole purist thing. We're being hit by the big mega attacks of fluoride, aluminum dioxide, just GMOs, water's full of crap. And then we're worried about, I agree BPA is bad, in the plastic linings of these so-called paper containers. It's just that I don't... Anyways, caller.
The bottom line is just take it with water. I mean, distilled water is going to be the best. If you're going to administer it to anybody, including yourself, it should be administered with pure distilled water.
And remember, consult your physician or healthcare provider. Okay, we're just giving you what he would do. What was your other question? He's gone? I wasn't mad at him. I was just getting irritated. Like we're worried about 1 part per billion or whatever it is of arsenic in the city water supply while they clean it and then dump poison in it before it's sent down to the people. I mean, it's just a joke. It's like we're making it against the law to thump someone in the nose, but we're going to hit them 50 times with a hatchet in the head. It just... Beverly in Texas, go ahead. You're on the air.
Hi. Well, to preface this, my mom and dad died when I was 13 and 14. My mother had cancer. My father had a heart attack. Every one of my relatives have died of some kind of horrible disease. My sister has fibromyalgia. The other one has diabetes. 7 years ago, my chiropractor said, you don't have to die of cancer, which was like, what? And so I started eating organic, started drinking pure water 8 years ago. And within a month or so, it was like a light switch went off. I could think clearer. I could see stuff, the same stuff that you're talking about right now. Before I even knew you, my husband and I were going, man, this is like taking the red pill. We're seeing all kinds of horrible things that our government is doing, and with the food and all like that. So anyway, we moved to the country, to the lake. We catch our own fish, we grow our own food and all this stuff, and plus we buy organic at other places. Now, I have ordered some of that iodine because I'm really interested about that, but I want to know, are we doing okay? I mean, do we need these supplements because we're doing what we're supposed to?
Do you need to take supplements? It depends on how often you actually cleanse the inside of your body, and that would mean like intestinal cleansing, liver and gallbladder cleansing. I mean, even people that are vegetarians or eat all raw, they think they don't have to clean, but you got to remember, you take 30,000 breaths every single day. And the air that you're taking in, there's all kinds of chemicals and stuff like that, and that all goes into your intestines. And, you know, unless you had a greenhouse and you controlled the air and everything that was grown in it with the...
We live in a highly toxic environment, and I know this. I don't live as good as you do, ma'am. All I know is the clarity of thought, not getting as angry, being more focused, getting more done. Iodine, high-quality iodine, the herbs and the Super Male Vitality has just been life-changing for me. And my friends and family take it and then want more. But obviously, we're funding this whole news operation off, you know, once a month or so, having a big, you know, plug for this, selling T-shirts, things like that. I mean, I sell a T-shirt that says Molon Labe, come and take it, because I'm defending the Second Amendment. And I'm funding the message to defend the Second Amendment and raise the alarm selling shirts that it's called synergy. And so it's the same thing. I promote key organic vitamins and minerals, and we're going to let you go, ma'am, and then go to our guest. I appreciate your call. I mean, regardless, try the iodine, try the Super Female Vitality, try the AccuPower, and then you know you're supporting this radio show. I mean, you know you're winning there. You know that's a win. And then I know that when you try it, almost everyone I know of. In fact, it sounds wrong if I say everyone's loved it. Actually, all we've gotten is positive reviews, which is unprecedented in the, quote, supplement industry. I mean, it's just unprecedented. Unprecedented. And so, I mean, we're here just bringing you high quality. And maybe you're so healthy you don't need it. So there you go. I don't think you know until you've tried it. I mean, is, you know, ProPure is the best gravity-fed filter we can find out there anywhere. You know, is it absolutely perfect? Does it cut out 100% of everything? No, it cuts out 100% of a lot of stuff, reduces things down to non-detectable levels in other areas. But it's certainly better than the tap water. None of this is perfect. It's like the sun. The sun will damage your skin, but you'll die without getting sun. So it's kind of like this is the process here. Dr. Group, any comments? Then we're going to go to our guest.
No, that's exactly what it is. It's about eliminating your exposure or reducing your exposure to a point where your body can deal with things when it does become exposed. I mean, bottom line, that's it. That's the root cause of all disease, is too much stuff coming in and not enough stuff coming out.
And they don't want us having high-quality iodine. They want us having the other bad halogens. What does that tell us?
That tells us that we need to keep our bodies clean on a regular basis, and we need to make sure that we combat that in every way, shape, and form, by drinking pure water, by eating clean food, exactly what she's doing. Congratulations, by the way. I live a very extremely clean life. I mean, organic, everything, and I still take all this stuff. Any male is going to be reduced of hormones regardless of how clean your body is, just a natural order that you're going to reduce your hormones after the age of 28.
Well, medical doctors are on record in studies. Sperm counts are down, genitals are shrinking, hormones are lower. We've been jacked with.
Doesn't matter how much, you know, it doesn't matter how much you eat. You cannot get the type of nutrients in foods anymore.
Look, all I know is I take Super Male Vitality, and it's like I'm 20 again in the, you know what, department. And, I mean, come on. That's, I mean, this stuff's real.
All I'm saying is that this is changing relationships and changing people's lives, and that's what it's all about. It's about feeling the way you did when you were young again, you know, getting your life back, getting your confidence back, you know, looking in the mirror and say, you know, I feel good again. I feel healthy. I feel self-confident. I mean, right now we have a bunch of people that have been off of work for 3 years. You know, they're getting unemployment. They're not doing anything but sitting on the couch, getting fat, getting unhealthy, and, you know, right now, it's time to step up to the plate, especially with all this stuff that's going on.
Yeah, for me, this has helped snap me out of the trance. Dr. Group, we'll talk to you after the show. God bless you.
Thank you.
GlobalHealingCenter.com, InfoWarsLife.com. Visit InfoWars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.